treating it like a threat. And one of the things that can't be attacked is your self-custody Bitcoin. And one of the things that can be attacked is the ETF. You can't be exposed to that. That's my view. It's not a good idea. And by the way, that'll hit MSTR too. It'll probably hit other stuff as well. Friends and enemies, welcome back. Canadian Bitcoiners Podcast.
Friends and enemies, welcome to the CBP. Want to be better informed? Listen to Len and Joey. Spots is taken care of right off the top. Bull, Bitcoin, and easy DNS. The media is feeding the slop. It doesn't matter what topics discussed. Quality entertainment and information you can trust.
That's being planned or at least discussed. You know, we're not going to allow people to buy
entertainment and information you can trust. Send the guy some value, boost them with some stats. Bitcoin is a scarcity asset, I mean it's just a fact. Geopolitical, national, down to the local cloud.
Friends and enemies, welcome back. The Canadian Bitcoiners Podcast. Len, I don't know if I should be worried, but I just saw a couple pallets of bricks outside my house. You know what that could mean. So I'm keeping an eye out for rioters.
Is it the Masons? Are they nearby?
For the Masons yearly council.
Maybe it's the Stonecutters.
Taking place.
Could be the Stonecutters meeting. I heard they're going to be hanging around in the Hamilton region. So
God, just shoot
take off the stone of shame and put on the stone. I forget what the second stone is called. Such a good episode.
Listen, Len told me before the show that we're up against Leafs Game 3 or Leafs. Fuck the Leafs will never be in a Stanley Cup final before I'm dead. The Panthers
that's a good
and
bet.
Oilers.
Do you think they
Game
will
3.
make the finals before you?
$1 million Bitcoin or Leafs in the Stanley Cup? What comes first?
I would say you would be USD 1 million,
Wow.
but versus you disappearing,
Unaliving? Jeez. I don't
right?
know.
It's like we're talking, I don't know, man. It's a long time. It's a coin flip, I guess.
I wouldn't put any money on it.
Yes,
Kyle
exactly that.
Kyle Dubas is, I think, still managing the Leafs, and he's he's around
No.
my age. So
Isn't it? You talking about the coach?
no, the GM.
Well, I don't know what
Shanahan
that
was the
is.
president. He's gone now. But I think Dubas was still involved, or maybe he is still involved. And then obviously, I was talking to actually Jordan before the show here, just trading DMs with him. I have a Switch that came to the house today, a new Switch. I'm probably not going to get to play it for, I don't know, a year at this rate. Reno's going on at my house. Things are busy, man. You know, the older I get, the busier I get, and the more I just want to be left alone to work out, honestly. So
Send it back. That's what I'm doing, because you know what? It turned out to be a flop in terms of the resale market on that.
Did it?
So,
wow.
yeah. So
I fired up Tears of the
Going
Kingdom
back
today for like 10 minutes, and
such a good game.
the fidelity, Len, like that's the way the game's meant to be played at 60 FPS, like high frame rate, high contrast, good graphics. My TV is 4K 120, and the Switch, I guess, does 4K or does HDR now. So it recognized that right away and made some changes.
If you're not
to,
CRTing it, like you just
is that right? That's the N64
experience
way,
is
right?
lost, right? Like, it's got to
Yeah.
be true, authentic 16-bit CRT style, or 8-bit, depending if you want to go there.
Let's we got lots to talk about today. Shipping container houses. I sent you and Mark a voice note that I want to just repeat later in the show. We are truly living in interesting times. But first, the sponsor, speaking of Mark, EasyDNS, your friendly neighborhood registrar. Go there and take care of all your domain and hosting needs. I mean, what else can you really say? If you want to buy a domain, Mark's your man. You want to port one over, you got one already, bring it over there. Mark's your man. Tons of security stuff over there, Len. We talk about this stuff on Access of Easy every week on Thursdays, releases Fridays. You should be subscribed to that channel and podcast. But on the EasyDNS side, easy mail and domain share for a couple extra bucks. Make sure your information, your mailing list, your business, your clients are all protected, and you're not getting spoofed by some scamming group from India or something. I don't know. And then on top of that, what else, Len? All sorts of virtual private server stuff for the Bitcoin enthusiast. You can do BTC pay servers, you can do NOS relays, you can do Bitcoin nodes, anything you want possible with EasyDNS. Go there. Our promo code CBP Media. Load your cart. 50% off first round of buys. Can't beat it. I see AP. I think that's Alex in the chat saying Dubas left. He's with the Pens. Yeah, see, it goes to show what I know. I don't know anything about hockey. I'm completely lost. Out to lunch on the hockey management side, that's for sure.
We'll bring you up to speed then. Bring me up to speed too. But you know what I don't have to bring up to speed is people learning to or wanting to buy or sell Bitcoin, because Bull Bitcoin has you covered. I was just looking at my block clock. 110K. What the
Hell
heck
yeah.
happened today?
Hell
Either
yeah.
way, maybe people are buying obviously people are buying, but gives an opportunity to sell too. You can do that with Bull Bitcoin, on-chain, Lightning. Last time I checked, fees are still very cheap. Blocks are not full, so use the on-chain because that is the way to go. But eventually we'll have to use something else like Lightning. Other things you could do with Bull Bitcoin, you could send it like it's through e-transfer, so you can send your Bitcoin through an e-transfer, which is rather cool. That's one way to pay people for stuff because you know what? Lately I've been purchasing things from folks, eggs, for instance, and yeah, you know, it's one good way to end up. By the way, duck eggs are available. Just
Did you get some?
yeah, I did.
Have you tried them?
Family did.
Nice. And
Yeah,
we'll
so
see.
they're-
What's the verdict?
It's yeah, the thumbs up. But
Nice.
let's talk about Bull Bitcoin because
Sure.
because they're the ones that paid
You
for it.
cannot you can't get duck eggs from Bull Bitcoin. Okay, you have to know someone and then use Bull Bitcoin to pay that person. Bull Bitcoin
Yeah,
does not
somehow
have any ducks on the ranch. All right, there's no ducks over there.
Yeah, so check them out if you're in Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, some parts of Europe. Bull Bitcoin is the exchange for you. Non-custodial. This is what you want in exchange. They are mission focused. If you use our promo code below, it's going to take a little bit off your buys moving forward in perpetuity. Check them out.
Yeah, you love that, man. Some housekeeping first, and we'll get to the boost. Last week, Mike Hobart and I sat down. Mike's a first-time guest on CBP. We followed each other on Twitter for a long time. He was a great guest, and the chat had some things to say about the discussion that we had about feminism, masculinity, families, all sorts of stuff that I think, we generally agreed on almost everything. These, one thing I'll say is that on this show over the years, we've had some easy conversations, stuff that everyone agrees with. And we've had some not so easy ones, stuff that not everyone agrees with. We've had some shows where me and Len don't agree with the guest. We've had some shows where the guest doesn't agree with us. We've had some shows where me and Len don't agree with each other, all these things. And it makes for a good show as long as the conversation is civil, as long as it's not, I hate to say it, but, you don't want to be dumping hatred on anybody over their, beliefs or way of life. You may disagree with certain religions or people or whatever, but you don't have to, call for them to hang in the town square or anything like that. And I think the conversation Mike and I had was pretty good. We touched a lot of topics, and he wrote a book that's just out of reach right now called The Second Renaissance, which so far has my attention. Very short. I think it's like $20 on Amazon. So, I always recommend to people, and this is something I do obviously for the show, I will buy the book, the record, the whatever of the people who come on this program for two reasons. One, I want to support their work. And obviously they're giving me their time, and the least I could do is try and do something for them if they're selling a product or a service. And the second reason, Len, is I want more Bitcoiners writing books. I want to see more of that stuff. I may not agree with everything in the book. You may think that there's other places where you can get that information as well, but the fact of the matter is you want to flood the zone with that way of thinking. And that said, I'd love to have Mike back on. He's ready to come back on. I'm expecting that he'll be a multi-time guest on CBP. So yeah, enjoyed that quite a bit.
Reverend Wendy Hamilton, is that the name?
Rev Wendy, yeah.
I think that's where that all started from. And
maybe.
You still have that shirt? Yeah,
the sweatshirt said Hope Dealer. Great sweatshirt, but it was just so shitty. The print is like worn out. I wore it a lot though. I got a lot of comments on that sweatshirt. So there you go. Do we have a guest this week? Are we doing anything this week?
I'm not sure.
I'm not doing anything.
I'm not sure.
Unless you want to get together for half an hour on Wednesday and record.
Nobody
something.
wants to talk to us or watch us. Anyway,
I mean, there's guests that are in the hopper for me. I need a couple weeks off is what I want.
What we could do, Joey, we could play some Mario Kart and stream that live. But it's not going to be from my place because I'm not going to bust out my Switch too. So it's going to have to be off to go over there.
You're more than welcome to come over and see the studio you helped pay for. So
can I play Switch too? That'd be. Can I see what it's all
I think we can play. Yeah, you can play with the two. What do you call them? Not
Joy-Cons?
Yeah, I was gonna call them Drift Cons. Joy-Cons. Yeah.
Hopefully they fix that drift issue, but
I have no idea. But it doesn't matter. There'll be something out this week. I don't know what. Maybe a barbells in Bitcoin. I have some thoughts on the personal training.
So how many hours
in Bitcoin right now
of Mario Kart have the host logged this week?
I have not played any
0
Mario
and
Kart
0.
Yeah.
So my Switch, I'm not keeping it. It's going to be sent back because it's resale market disappeared, and Joey's busy with stuff.
I have Mario Kart though, the bundle.
But it hasn't been cracked open.
No, I still have to do the code thing or whatever, the scratch and sniff card. Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go. That's good. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see about a guest this week. We'll do something, or there'll be another release. I just don't know what yet. It's summertime, man. Me and Len are thinking about taking the summer off from interviews.
Yeah,
Because people don't want to sit around on Wednesday nights. I'm fucking so busy now with my daughter growing up a little bit, and like I said, we got a lot of stuff going on at the house. It's gonna be a busy few months. We're gonna keep pumping out as much as we can, though. I promise you that.
We'll be printing stuff like this. I keep this always on standby. It's just a $1 Singapore dollar. I love having this here. Anyways,
Thanks,
some
Wedge.
boost, Joey.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through those. 521 sats comes from Doom Satoshi. Love that name, Doom Satoshi. Going to the grocery in China. Hopefully, this is cheaper every year in sats. It's not a guarantee because, as you can see, the price of Bitcoin moves up and down. I mean, I think over a longer period of time, 100%, not financial advice, it will be cheaper.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean,
Seems
next
that
year,
way to
who
me.
knows? We may be back to 5 digits next year. Maybe not. Maybe. Who the fuck knows?
We'll see.
Owen 666 sats. He says, always a fun listen. Len was especially angry today. I approve. Thumbs up. And
Love it.
yeah, I'm angry every day these days. The Bitcoin soldier on Noster, 711 sats. GTFO seems like the easy way out. A bunch of people like me won't be able to leave easily. Friends, family, jobs, just to name a few. We will remain behind and improve our situation and improve Canada.
I feel
you.
that. Yeah, I feel that sentiment. I don't want to say it's the easy way out because it's hard for everyone to do, a get up and go strategy. Len is a proponent of that strategy. If you can do it, it's great. But it's still, I think you've admitted as much, Len, that it's difficult to do those things. There's some big decisions you have to make along the way and stuff you have to give up. But there's a lot of people who want to stay behind and work to get Canada to a place that they remember. Maybe they can do it. I think it's less likely with each passing day, unfortunately. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you gotta vote harder. That's really the only way to get out of it.
I mean, this is where I'll talk about it. Okay, I sent Mark and Len a voice note today. I was laughing. Usually around 3:30, 4 o'clock, I'm still working, but I'll start putting on like some YouTube stuff, some podcast stuff that I meant to listen to try and like get my bearing for the Monday show. And I had CPAC on, QP on one screen, and I had Prime Minister Carney talking to and about our military on another screen. On one screen, I see Minister Freeland, who I think is the Minister of what? Housing and Development? Transport. Okay, so not sure why she's talking about these houses unless they're coming off of trucks, which is possible, I guess. Talking about how Canadians are going to be blessed with the manna from heaven known as modular homes, shipping container homes, and the government is doing more to put these homes down and give Canadians a place to live that's reasonably priced. And that another member from one of the other parties, it wasn't the Bloc, it was either the NDP or the Conservatives, basically got up and just said, hey, my generation, he's probably around my age, probably in his mid-30s, my generation does not want to live in a shipping container, and everyone applauded. Meanwhile, on the other screen, Prime Minister Carney talking about how our military endeavors in the future will be secured and bolstered by quantum computing. I don't know any countries, past or present, that are putting up shipping container homes and also using quantum computing in military operations. Do you know of any, sir? I'll ask you.
Not that I'm aware of. I'm not up to speed with this. However,
right. Okay.
One of the things that was announced today was Canada has met its 2% of GDP obligation with, I think, NATO. So that was, I believe that was also part of his announcement. Although I didn't hear it, I just assume it was. Could be wrong.
I think he's on the way to that. He got some questions from reporters who are rather pointed in their lines of questioning, calling his accounting tricky and sleight of hand a couple of times. This is Prime Minister Carney. And he had to answer some difficult questions today from the press. I think everybody, I'm not an accountant, I'm not an auditor, I'm not any of these things, but I will say that I think everybody understands that getting to 2% is difficult for a country that, by our own admission, can't repair aircraft because we don't have the skills or the parts to do so. We have 4 submarines, only one is seaworthy at the moment.
It's dependent on the environment in which, if there's an appetite to go into debt, then achieving the 2%, I think it's easier. if the goal is to get to zero and not increase the deficit,
Difficult.
or so not increase the debt and not go to
difficult.
deficit,
Difficult.
then it's obviously it's more difficult. So it really depends on what's the appetite for how much more debt you want to accumulate, and if it's a little bit larger, then getting that 2% is going to be a lot easier.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Do you think there's anything to this talk that most of the NATO countries will go above 2% to something closer to 3.5%?
I've never heard of this. What's the rationale for this?
I think just they view this as a better long-term, medium-term goal than the 2%, right? I'm not sure if that. The other thing too is that we've been saying a long time now that our GDP is going up and up and up. That may be true, but a higher GDP means a higher contribution, and we don't have the productivity for it. We don't have the manufacturing for it. I still think it's funny to listen to the political rhetoric and then hear Tiff Macklem during his press conference last week. Did you watch the Canadian rate announcement? No. Somebody asked him what he thought about the U.S., Canada trade thing, and asked if he thought that we would always be tied to U.S. or if we had another option. And he said, yeah, we're always going to be tied to the U.S. Have you ever looked at a map? I think everyone's getting pretty tired of the rhetoric. It's affecting people now, right? You see the prices going up. You see that, there's controversy around stuff like TFWs and LMIAs and tariffs, and these things sting, man. They sting for average people, and more people are average than you would think, because people will always lead you to believe they have a little more than they do, right? And so, a lot of these people who are pretending they were above some of these changes are going to find that they are, in fact, right in the crosshairs when those changes start to land.
Now, with respect to Tiff, though, he has no say in this. So
no,
people complain to him whatever they want. For him, it may not be in one ear and out the other, but it should be, because really, maybe it's the wrong way to frame it.
Well, trade imbalance and trade policy affects stuff like employment, which, although it is not a mandate for him like it is for the U.S. central bank, it's something that contributes to his rate decision for sure. But you're right, he doesn't have a say. Short of sharing a stake with Prime Minister Carney, I don't think he gets a vote, right? So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Jamie, 1,000 sats, prosperity, masculinity, and the second renaissance. With me.
That was the title of the show. I don't know if you just copy and pasted it. Thanks anyways, Jamie. It's good. Yeah, we'll take those sats, put them to good use.
Last Business Cat, 5,000 sats. He's a big spender.
Love Business
last
Cat.
Few times. We could handle this because we're men. I love it.
Truer words never spoken. Although I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. Anyway, do we have the measles outbreak on the list of things tonight in Ontario?
We can add it.
I'd love to talk about it if we have a chance. Just a couple of things I want to point out about the coverage.
The Eglinton LRT. Eglinton's finally going to get that later this year. It's been 15 years in the work. There's so much going on, Joey.
Tons.
A lot's going on.
Let's do the Bitcoin stuff first. Let's stay with tradition here.
Want to talk about core?
I don't, but we have no choice. So, what are these guys doing? Why is there a new PR every fucking week now?
This has been merged, though, Joey.
I know. Why? Merged. So it's like the data cap or something. Did I see that right?
Yeah, they're moving that. Well, they do shoot themselves in the foot, and they first released a statement on the relay policy. I want to thank them for their divine guidance, right? Because let's be honest, without them, I'd be lost. I solely rely on their information, their expertise. And it's like following the science, right? Don't give me a chance to inject any sort of independent thought. I don't want to interfere with that. I want just Bitcoin's.
The only injection I'm getting is the one that everyone says I should get.
But those guys and gals and whatever, whoever are core, keep in mind, it's the month of celebration. So we have to acknowledge they want to flatten the curve with respect to filtering transactions.
Yes.
That's what their goal is. And they're doing this with this nice, it started off with this, it's almost like a misdirection with this whole thing that they released, this saying that speeding up the blocks, what they want to do. They want to predict what's transactions are going to be mined. Shit, like this whole fucking speech. Essentially, they're just saying that stopping spam doesn't work. You could just simply go straight to the miner. The transactions are going to get filled no matter what, regardless if there's any filtration. whatever. We've been told so many times that filters don't work until they tell us, well, you guys can't do it anymore.
Gotta get rid of them. Yeah,
Thanks for forcing the issue, guys. Right. And so the thing is, with respect to myself, like my node, it's running on very modest specs. I don't have an infinite amount of resources on my node. I would like to filter out stuff that I don't want, what I perceive it to be as trash, as spam, as stuff that I don't want to have in my mempool. I want to have the ability to have the option to take it out, right? Or at least something. So I want some flexibility. I want to be an independent node operator. And what Core is doing with this, they're pushing down this shit down our throat, right? Regardless if we want it or not. It's now you're just forced to take it. And I understand it's the time of celebration, but I don't want anything shoved down my throat. Thank you very much. Just leave it at that. These guys then, after this whole spiel that came out, then they said, you know what? We're going to fucking merge this version 30 of Core, which is going to be coming out later this year, September, I believe. I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. They're going to uncap the data carrier by default. So that means it's going to be removed. You can do it in the options in the bitcoin.com file. You could put the data carrier size option back in there, but they do advise not to do it. Why? Go fuck themselves. I think it doesn't make any sense why they are trying to push this. It makes me wonder who is paying for this to happen. Bitcoin is at the point where it could topple over a lot of trash fiat systems out there, and it could essentially just replace it with something that is a hard asset. A lot is at stake here. A lot of powerful folks here are going to lose that power, because when you have control of money, you have control of power, and Bitcoin removes that. So I'm wondering, these guys, who's paying them? What is the MO here? Why are they doing this? Luckily, there are options out there. Luke, I just want to say that guy probably has a target on his chest, because he is, I don't know what's going to happen with him, but you know what I mean? Like, he's public enemy number one when it comes to these Core folks and also the spam and trash folks.
Yeah.
Because he and his knots option gives people the ability to have options, have control over it, be independent node runners. This is what we want to do. This is decentralized. I don't want to be forced into a corner and to do that. That's fucking bullshit. I used to love running Core, but no longer. It doesn't make sense. And if you think you can still run an older version of Core that is not subjected to this, because like I said, version 30 is going to be having this, they don't maintain the old versions forever. Right now, they're maintaining up until 27.x. So every version of 27.x and newer, 28 and 29, they're all getting maintained. But once 30 comes out, 27 gets mothballed, and 28 is then the oldest version of Core that gets maintained. And once 31 comes out, version 29 is the oldest version that comes out, and so forth. So eventually, if you want to run a modern version, something that has been maintained, that has bugs that have been fixed, you're going to have to upgrade or update your version of Core until you get up to version 30. And at that point, well, unfortunately, spam galore. Like, it's bullshit. I don't know why the fuck they're doing this.
Okay, let me ask you something. Since I have like literally zero opinion on this, except that I think it's stupid. What would it take for you, as a guy who pays attention to the technical side of Bitcoin, to think that the devs were hostile enough to the money mission to sell your corn?
To sell it? No, I don't know. If
I mean, these guys are pushing. If you look on Twitter, there's people going absolutely hysteric about this. And I realized it's, maybe the top of the iceberg, tip of the iceberg, I should say. And this is opening the door to other changes that are, potentially going to be forced by the core devs, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But no one seems like actually willing to like get out of Bitcoin or fork it or whatever. So like, how bad is this really in that regard?
It's bullshit in that this is what is being offered to everybody, and everybody tends to flock to this first. And even Knots is built
fork
off
of this. Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of the waterfall of where everything starts from. So, and if they're doing this, and these are the people that seem to understand what should be Bitcoin, they don't, right? They're pushing this ability to increase the amount of spam that could go on into Bitcoin blocks.
Yeah.
It's not about storing data. It's about money.
Yeah.
Right. Bitcoin is a terrible way to store fucking data.
Yeah. The data argument doesn't hold water. This thing is not worth 110K a coin because of the data option. You know, it's just not the way this is being valued.
But this move that they're doing is catering to this is a database clientele. That's what they're doing. Granted, I have to take this into context that you can go and easily go to a miner and pay that miner money to have anything put in the block. I get that you could do that.
Yeah.
But why does all the nodes out there have to propagate this bullshit? Why don't we have the ability to filter it out as much as we want? And if you want to filter it out, great. And if you don't, all the more power to you. It's decentralized. You have the ability to do shit like that. That's what Bitcoin is. You're not forced to do something. When you're forced, then it's centralized.
Mm-hmm.
Then you might as well work with a central bank. And this is not what Bitcoin is. This is everybody has at least some fucking say in this, especially people that run a node. Fuck.
Are the knots? Is the knots sort of, you know? Are the knots faithful losing steam, fighting this?
I don't know. Is if you look at the one metric,
it seems to me that they are. Like the metric we talked about before, like the adoption of knots, for sure. But on the social layer, I'm not sure there's that much steam.
So now at 11 and change %.
Yeah, it's high. Yeah. The adoption is great, but on the social side, like the question is, will a new node runner go to knots or go to core?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So somebody that is coming to Bitcoin won't understand right away what it is the use of a Bitcoin node. They'll understand I could buy it, maybe leave it on the exchange or shit like that.
Right.
You have to go down this long path to figure out why would I want to run a node. And at that point, you're going to have to do some digging in. You have to read, you have to talk to folks, shit like that. And through that, you would hopefully understand which option would be deemed best for you. And I think through that, people would steer clear from going with core and go with something else like knots.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that over time, knots is going to continually increase its market share. Core is going to, will it go less than 50%? It potentially can happen.
Yeah.
And that would be a phenomenal fucking,
we
that would
talked
show
about
that
the
people
version.
are fucking pissed.
We talked about the version numbers too, right? Like there was a lot of people who were going backwards in their version of core compared to forwards. This was when did we talk about these numbers? 3 weeks ago, maybe something like that. So like this is a bit more technical than we normally get on this show, but it's important only because, like, I kind of want, what I really want, Len? I want the guys who sell pre-built nodes to have knots pre-installed and not core. Like that's an easy win if you can get it, but it doesn't seem like there's just any appetite to be on one side or the other by, Ronin Dojo or whatever. Start 9 gives you an option. Yeah.
And I don't know about any other. Probably Umbrel does. I don't really know. I never used Umbrel before, so I can't really say. So, but even down that path, people should use other options. These pre-built options, they're nice. They look fancy and everything. Really, people should have a lot more flexibility. Just run it on your Windows, run it on your Linux computer.
Mm-hmm.
Like and that way you could run where the fuck you want. And that's what I say is the best course of action, rather than getting these pre-built devices.
Yeah. We'll move on, but Mix Picks in the chat saying my node Umbrel Start 9, I'll have the options. So you got
that's wonderful. So there, yeah. People are voting with their CPU power and they're voting for an option, and they like the fact that it's core. Sorry, Knots is a alternative to core. 11%.
Yeah.
In a very short period of time. Like that. I don't know, man. I would love to see how things transpire in the next year, especially if core maintains this stance, this bullshit stance. I want to go back. Do you think that somebody's paying them for? Are they truly Bitcoiners? Do they live and breathe Bitcoin? Like, what the fuck? Because, like I say, there's a lot at stake here, and if you could infiltrate this group of folks, and you could hurt it.
Who's paying them?
I don't
for
know.
Data storage. Like, this is the question that I don't understand anymore. You could have made the case to me maybe during, like, you could have made the case maybe during the ordinals craze that Ethereum was trying to get at the cornerstone of Bitcoin by throwing JPEGs on there and convincing people this is the use case for the global reserve asset. Now I don't think they are. You could have made the case to me that banks, guys like JP Morgan, guys like BlackRock were trying to get at Bitcoin because it's potentially damaging to their long-term business model. I don't think that's the case anymore. Governments maybe, but even the US now talking about obviously a Bitcoin reserve, although that's kind of dead in the water. We'll talk about California a bit later. But I just don't know who's paying. Like, the incentives don't really line up.
There's a lot of enemies out there
who do you think?
You've mentioned a few of them, and you know what? I don't want to discount all of them.
Yeah,
all of them could potentially be.
You think it's possible still? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And
right.
Given what going into the weeds here, given what happened in soccer some 15, 20 years ago, there was huge scandal in Italy for the match fixing.
In FIFA?
No, in Syria.
Oh, I was gonna say FIFA is the most clean,
and even that's too,
organization I've ever of all time. So it's them and the Vatican, I think, like completely untouchable, Teflon. Yeah.
So it's a huge scandal, and it required very little resistance to get shit done because they were able to use these old mafia from Yugoslavia to come in and strong arm people, and just a few people here, just get them on board, a ref here. Things get done. It doesn't take much to make people see things your way, especially when you threaten people. But
happened in the NBA too. NBA got mixed up in mafia activity too. Yeah, a few referees. One of them, Scott Foster, still refereeing games in the playoffs. If you can believe that. Yeah.
Wow.
You can bet from your phone now, but I guess they think it's easier to catch him. I'm not sure. The Tim Donaghy story, for people who don't know, I can't do it justice, but there was a ref basically who was fixing games and admitted to fixing games and has done a big media tour since he got out of jail and said there was other people involved. Look at the case. And so people started looking at the case, and there's one specific sort of set of data that really is damning towards Scott Foster. Every time Foster and Donaghy were doing games at the same time in different arenas, they spoke on the phone during halftime of those games. I don't even call my wife that much. And this guy was obviously fixing games. So there's a lot of specials you can watch on that. Netflix has a good one. There's a good podcast I listened to maybe 4 or 5 years ago. The Donaghy story is awesome. High drama, mafia. It's really good. It's really good.
That's just a small snippet. When there is incentive, shit happens. When you have money and if that could happen not to say that this is small potatoes, but comparatively a basketball game versus the monetary system we're dealing in, it's small potatoes.
Yeah.
So,
fair.
All right, Joey, this next story happened this week, but it feels like it happened a much longer time ago. Jack Mallers, right? Okay, let's talk about him because he wrote there is no rehypothecation with strike lending, because remember they were doing strike lending. You give them your Bitcoin to give you some cash or some equivalent. And you're saying, we're not going to touch your fucking Bitcoin.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah, well, some guy named Bitcoin Cartoons on X. Got to give this dude some credit. He went through the terms and conditions of the loan, Section 3K specifically, and it says that, well, this shit happens. They're going to be lending this stuff out to whatever the fuck they want. So yeah, there you go. And he's asking for Jack Mallers to give some feedback to this. He goes, here's the clear terms and conditions saying, what, this is one thing, you're saying something else. There's a contradiction here. The legal document kind of trumps what you're saying on X. And Mallers replied that this is a legal nuance, but definitely worth clearing up. And he says, strike partners with capital providers like NYDIG. And this shit happens, he says, all the time. I don't know, man. Like, let's be honest. I don't believe him. I believe the fact once you give up your coin, they're going to do whatever they want, because these guys are in business to make more money.
For sure.
How
are they making money on your coin? Are they opening a museum where people can pay to see your UTXO on their books? Like, no.
Well,
they're doing something with the shit you deposit. Like, what is so hard to understand about this?
There is like a percentage you pay. Like if say you want to lend one Bitcoin,
right,
and you get like $110,000, but you have to pay back 2.5%. What
yeah,
the fuck?
Of course.
So they're going to make some money off that for every legitimate person that pays it back. But those companies they're not holding on and just doing nothing. They're not sitting on the keys.
Agreed.
This just goes to show every time you give up your Bitcoin for something in these type of things, you're giving it up. You don't have your keys. It's not yours anymore. And they have, in terms of conditions, the right to do whatever they fucking want with it. Jack Mallers, he's left with.
Am I vindicated on Mallers yet? Am I vindicated here? This guy never delivers, man. He never delivers. He made all kinds of promises, huge promises over the years. And now what's he doing? Don't forget, he just jacked up the fees on Strike too, right? That was about 6 months ago, something like that. Jacked up the fees on Strike, got shit from Predator for that. Now he's doing now the Bitcoin brilliance, that this guy was paraded around as, is doing what? Oh, he's got another lending product where he's rehypothecating. Wow. That's fucking visionary. Cool. That's great. Like, give me a fucking break, man. Are we done with this guy yet? Come on. We cannot keep putting this guy on a pedestal. By the way, SoftBank and Cantor in bed with this guy and Tether for that 21 company.
Yes.
I tweeted that video that Predator made of Gensler. I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, where Jack is explaining how 21 works and what the first quote unquote product they offer is, and how the first product is the equity. Like, this is a joke. It's a joke. Okay. If you're going to buy a Bitcoin equity, there's other options. You should just be buying Bitcoin. Don't try and rehypothecate loan. Like, again, the bar that this guy set for himself was so high. Okay. There was the year where he was doing the Bitcoin racing. I still remember he had a picture with that underwear girl that's also fucking vanished. Had the presentation. He's buying a Coke at the fucking store with his Bitcoin. And now here we are 3 years later, and he's doing a loan product. Visionary. True visionary. Did anyone else? Oh, that's right. Everybody thought of a loan product before him. Okay. Good. There we go. I hope everyone's happy. We are done talking about this guy. By the way, I know someone who worked for Strike and has equity in the company and is waiting for them to go public. And it's just every news release just tanks the value of that equity. Every news release, like they can't get anything fucking right. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, 21, that company that is going to be accumulating corn. Seems to be the very popular thing to do, right? There seems to be a lot of announcement for companies.
Bitcoin acquisition vehicle, Bitcoin treasury company, whatever, right? These are the...
Yeah. The example from this week that is going to highlight this and just tie it on it, this company called Vanity Coffee.
Saw this.
Right? Like, they are looking to be a Bitcoin first company by acquiring over $1 billion with a B dollars worth of Bitcoin using the MicroStrategy playbook.
They're a coffee company where 80% of their physical locations were either going out of business or out of business. I'm pretty sure. Did I read that correctly?
I don't know exactly the specifics on that, but yeah. I think they're publicly traded.
Of course.
Do you know what their market cap is?
Less than ours, probably.
No, I would argue that ours is pretty. It's 1.4 million. I believe that's USD.
Could we sell this brand for $1 million?
I
don't know.
If these guys could almost 1,000x, their valuation,
like that's their plan, eh? Like, just give me who are the Bitcoiners giving these guys money? Is what I want.
Joey,
to know.
If we're worth $1 million, just hypothetically, this is worth $1 million. We just have to IPO, say we're going to be buying Bitcoin, and it will be 1,000x. Then all we have to do is we got to release the video. This company is going to 1,000x valuation. Joey, then we got to put that picture.
How many shares of this company do you need to retire?
And we each have to have our faces of like of a surprise. We got to do it like that. Like, we just fucking.
Why don't we? We could really go hard. If Saylor can do Bitcoin Torque, then we can do some kind of like other Bitcoin word, like I don't know, Bitcoin drive train or something. And the trick is that actually all the Bitcoin we buy is just the drip that we get from the Bull loyalty program. We're not actually buying anything. It's actually the shareholders buying the Bitcoin for themselves, and then we just roll it into the stock. It's like, this is the kind of shit you're seeing now. Like this does not make any sense. It does not make any sense that this is going on. A coffee company, I'm going to go Bitcoin first. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're selling 6 out of 10 drip over cups to people who are fucking hungover or late for work. You're not getting $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. You're not. It's never going to happen. Mark in the chat saying, new Bitcoin, new treasury strategy. We will acquire 1 billion Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Like, this is basically what they're saying, right? Like,
everybody's fucking doing it. Like, this is it's the theme of the day, right? Oh, let's fucking say something that's going to splash. Oh, let's buy Bitcoin. How much?
Great.
Doesn't matter. But
it's so great.
Thank you, guys. Paraguay, I'm not sure if you saw this. Was a pretty funny one.
I did. Yeah.
Paraguay's president came out today on X saying that they're going to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. As per Reuters, the account was likely hacked.
Yeah.
And they say the Paraguay's government came out saying that his account was trying to promote the trading of Bitcoin, and presented some irregular activity on the account, which suggests a possibility of unauthorized entry, says the government in a statement.
The possibility, yeah, it's possible.
I can't really nail him to the cross, because if the SEC's Twitter account could also get hacked, like, right, like, come on, not to put Paraguay below them, like, so it sucks, it sucks, but you guys get a pass, right? I gotta give you guys
I love it.
So initially when I didn't realize till very, very recently, till like almost just before the show started, that it was hacked. I kind of thought that this pump was somewhat associated.
The Paraguay pump.
Well, what the fuck?
There's like 8 people living in Paraguay.
Hey, they play soccer very well over there. They got more than 8. They can put a.
What's their FIFA 14 rating? Paraguay's team, is it in the 60s?
I wouldn't even know. We'll have to check it out tomorrow on Wednesday. Yeah. All right. JP Morgan.
Yeah.
Looks like they're going to be allowing the use of Bitcoin ETFs as collaterals for loans.
Love that, man. Love that. I just talked about this on Money Talks, and it came out. Not the JP Morgan product, but I mentioned how as the ecosystem matures, you're going to see more options to use Bitcoin as collateral. This is even better. The ETF
right now,
is like one step down from Bitcoin, obviously from spot.
It's going to be only allowing at this particular moment. It's live, apparently, the BlackRock's ETF.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
No other ETF is.
That's okay. That's right.
As of right now, things could change, right? All this really does, it just allows for more leverage, more bullshit, right? Because you're going to be lending up your Bitcoin as collateral. If shit goes bad, your collateral is going to have to get maybe liquidated.
Yep.
So it's a potential new ways for people to make a bigger bet, get wrecked, all thanks to this fiat magic. Absolutely love it. JP Morgan also allows other things for collateral: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, specific ETFs, real estate, fine art, not NFTs,
metals, probably
precious metals, and a lot of
yellow
stuff like that.
Yellow cake. If you have a little yellow cake, you can probably use that.
So as Bitcoin tends to increase in value, the amount of Bitcoin that BlackRock accumulates, it's also going to be going up. And it's just, you're going to get more Bitcoin. Right now, IBIT has 660,000 Bitcoin in their reserves, I guess, whatever. As of the end of April, it was 572,000. So it went up almost 90,000.
There's a lot of buyers, man. Those ETFs are popular, and they're contributing to stuff like fees going down, probably the financialization of an asset as well. Like like I said to Mike, and you and me have, I think, differing views on this, I should say. I don't know if we 100% disagree, though, that this is what you're going to get as people realize this is a better asset than gold, than stocks. Like, people are going to want this as collateral. It's just the nature of the game. So there's going to be good and bad that come with that, but it's a sign of maturity more than anything else.
All right, this guy looks like he's matured a little bit too. His name is James Howells.
This guy, no, come on. We're still talking about this guy?
I think, well, briefly.
We talked about this guy before, probably. Like in the infancy of the show. Remember we had all
Did
these
we?
bad ideas for segments. Like we would do like the Bitcoin story of the week or whatever, and it'd be
Did we
like
ever talk about this guy?
this is the garbage dump guy, Howells?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
He is an IT worker from Newport, South Wales.
Yeah.
So remember, he's an IT.
He was on the
worker.
desk at the Bitcoin conference, by the way. Yeah. So he was in the news. He's trying to make a push, or was anyways.
Well, okay. This guy claimed that 7,000 Bitcoin was in one of his hard drive, which he ended up tossing. He
says his partner did it.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
So
game.
He has since given up this fight, but he's not going to leave without squeezing every last drop from this fucking lemon, because a Los Angeles-based production company has acquired the rights to tell his story in a new documentary, and it's going to be titled "The Buried Bitcoin: The Real Life Treasure Hunt of James Howells." So that's why I say when probably haven't heard of the last of this guy.
Who's producing it? Is it going to be done by Bill Simmons? Let's get Bill Simmons to do it.
The production company is Lebul, Lebul.
Never heard of him. I mean, I'm the wrong guy to ask, anyways. But you know what he said at the Bitcoin desk at the conference, that he was planning on buying the landfill. He was crowdfunding and buying the landfill was his next plan. But
no problem.
I don't think it worked out. I mean, this guy is like nuts. And by the way, all caps in the chat saying he's a B casher now. I didn't know that.
Oof. Well, the one thing I wonder, this guy claims to be working in IT, an IT worker.
Yeah. If
somehow that hard drive was supposed to be discarded, wouldn't it have been wiped first? Like, if I'm going to get rid of something.
Len, great angle. Great angle by you there. Yeah.
Well,
what kind of IT guy throws away a hard drive full of data? Yeah.
100%.
Where's the magnet? Get the magnet on that thing.
Either he's dumb as shit or he's dumb as shit. So you pick which one of the two it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick dumb as shit. But I don't know.
This guy was going crazy about these coins in 2017 when the coins were worth 20,000 a piece. You know, you can imagine how much sleep this guy is losing now. He's probably just a shell of himself. I don't wish that on anybody, but man, like, talk about key control and the importance of not your keys, not your coin. This was before hardware wallets. Obviously, he had a little bit more of a slope in terms of his difficulty, his own personal difficulty adjustment, but. Could have gone a lot better for him. I feel for the guy. He's young too. You ever see the guy? He's probably like in his maybe early 40s.
Oh, I would say younger than that.
Yeah, he's a young guy. It's tough.
He's aged a lot in the past little while.
Don't say that. That's a low blow. He's been in the garbage dump for the last 10 years. He's picking through things with chopsticks.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Right? And is he just going with like a metal detector, or is he like
he's okay? So I don't know all the details, but I'll tell you what I've heard over the last like month or so. That he's done everything from bringing in AI to come up with cleaning plans, and he's brought in environmental impact groups to help mitigate the quote unquote damage that searching a landfill could do. He's talked to different groups from the city and different garbage management groups about what quadrant is most likely to have his hard drive and all these different things. And the dump is basically just saying, like, you're not turning the whole thing upside down. Like, I'm sorry, you're not doing that. And by the way, I actually agree with the dump, because you don't want people just saying to you that they lost something and having an avenue to uproot your whole garbage dump. Like, that doesn't scale. Okay. You can't do that in a large population, a large hub, whatever.
You can't put this on the blockchain.
Everyone loses shit in the garbage. Today, during our bathroom reno, I was supposed to take off the old shower head because it's nice, like, it's like a new whatever with the thing that comes off of the top. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but anyway,
that's easy to do. You just Teflon and screw it back in.
I took it off, but I left it in the washroom. And when the contractor came by, he's doing the demo, and I remembered. I like popped upstairs and go, "Hey, did you ever see the thing?" He goes, "It's in the garbage." So I went into the bin to get it. Yeah. Thank God I could.
So you know what?
Still.
You could relate.
Yeah,
you could relate.
I'm basically this guy. Yeah. The parallels are obvious.
Except it's not 8,000.
My shower head was, it's $30, and his is, 80 million or whatever.
You know what it kind of reminds me? You ever hear the story about? This is going way back. Atari, when they produced a game called E.T., which was a terrible game.
Okay. By
a lot of people. So what happened? They overproduced.
There's no good Atari games, by the way. Just want to throw that right there.
Warlords, Yar's Revenge. There's a few good ones.
Okay.
Pitfall 2, 1. Anyways, ET came out. They produced way more than they could sell. So what it ended up doing, they just buried it in a landfill. And it was basically, it was a legend. It was like a myth until somebody decided to actually go there to that. It was buried like in a desert in the garbage dump. They actually figured out exactly where it should be because based off, where garbage would have been placed, and they dug it up, and sure enough, there were games that they buried. It wasn't just a legend; it would turn out to be true, and they ended up selling
That's good.
some of those games that they dug up because people wanted them as collector's items. So I found it to be so. It's very similar to those two stories.
Good for them. We got to get what's his name there, James Howell or whatever. Get over.
No, it's Howard Scott Warshaw. That was the guy that programmed that.
Yeah,
game.
we got to get this guy over. Start looking for some old game cartridges because that Bitcoin's gone, bro. It's time to move on. She's over you, bro.
Still lives.
She's over you.
Atari still lives. All right, this news this past week about a Californian bill made some waves. Assembly bill.
This is in the thumbnail. I think this is a big story.
It can be, depending on how you look at it. People were speculating this bill could be a way for the state to potentially go after Bitcoin that's been left on an exchange for 3 years and it's been inactive. You didn't log on to the exchange. You didn't do anything with that Bitcoin. You just bought Bitcoin 3 years plus ago and it's been sitting there. And so they say if no active ownership interest for 3 consecutive years takes place, the asset could then be deemed unclaimed. And if the state ever gets their hands on it, that means it will be put in a hold and not sold off. They say
be used to buy pallets of bricks for Democratic protesters.
That's in the private market. We're talking this is public funds. So they're just going to hold on to this. So they say that as they're just going to hold on to it, not sell it, it gives the opportunity to the customer to get access or get claim to their Bitcoin at a later date by reclaiming the asset. Since exchanges, a lot of them, maybe all of them, do KYC, claiming ownership of that shouldn't be too hard because all you have to do is just present the right documentation, who you are, match it to the exchange, and voila, there you go. But it does, I mean, if you do something like that, maybe it starts putting a target on your back because then you basically identify to the state, yeah, I fucking own it.
This is exactly what I think. You identify a wallet. Yeah, that's the big thing here. Not the state's gonna grab your Bitcoin. Like they might. Don't get me wrong. They may. I think that's possible. Who doesn't want $100,000 Bitcoin to just wind up in the state coffers because the guy hasn't logged in for 3 years, right? Guy leaves the country or forgets his password or just is like, yeah, I don't want to log in because I'll be tempted to sell it. Who knows? But the big thing is that you are identifying private wallets when you force people to move their coins. Now, I want to know what active ownership means. Does active ownership mean signing into an exchange account? Or does it mean, okay, so that's not quite identifying a wallet, but I think this is probably the first part of a number of these different attempts we will see to eventually make it to identifying a wallet. And this is what people want. Me and you talk about this all the time. You have to have good wallet security, anonymity for some of your Bitcoin. I think this is very important. Whether you're using a mixing service, whether you're doing cash buys, ATM buys, Bull Bitcoin had the post office cash option for a while. There's ways to get KYC free Bitcoin, and you should have some. That's number one. Number two, though, Len, when you start identifying wallets, it's not just the wallet you send to that's identified. So you have to know that as soon as you start to log into these things and send stuff around, there's a whole wormhole that you're potentially going down in terms of exposing your privacy on the Bitcoin side. So how do you do something about this? It's a good question. Your privacy is something you have to manage early and often. And if you lapse, there's no getting it back. You got to start fresh, right? Start with a new wallet, start with a new set of keys, whatever. But if you're not logging into an exchange every 3 years with the hopes that you're kind of laying low, that's going to change. How much Bitcoin do you think is on these exchanges longer than 3 years? Because if you left your Bitcoin on 3 years, the last 3 years or even the 3 years before that, like significant price appreciation, right? So
I gotta just say, it's leaving it on there and doing nothing, not logging onto the account.
I know.
Like essentially just
yeah.
I'm not
it,
sure.
Basically.
I think it's a rather small number
in
the grand scheme of things. I think there's a lot of people that leave their stuff on the exchange, but they're probably active.
Hmm.
They're going on, they're looking at the price, they're looking at what the value is. And so in terms of, I do know one individual though that bought Bitcoin on Coinbase many years ago and never recovered it. And I told him several times, you got to do it. And I think he might have went through the process not too long ago to get it. I'm not sure.
Never
But-
recovered it. What do you mean? Like, they
Never
took
just,
it?
he just left it on there.
Oh,
I was like,
okay.
and I don't know the exact amount. I didn't want to know, but still, it was. This was like many years ago. He bought
Yeah,
it.
it's enough now to
Yeah,
even
just
when
do
the price
something with it.
even when the price hit 100,000. Like you and me over the years, this is as bad as my OPSEC will ever get. You and me over the years have put like minuscule amounts on different wallets that have been sent our way or different wallets we picked up. And like I have a bunch of those shitty wallets lying around here. It was almost $1,000. All those wallets. Like if you have corn on the exchange from 2013 or 14, like, I mean, you're doing great if you have a Coinbase account that hasn't been touched in a decade. And I just it's baffling to me that people don't care enough to sign in, like you said. Like,
I
that's really
know,
not, that's a
I
low
know.
bar. It's a low bar.
Yeah, and then once you sign in, I always tell people, gotta take it off. Gotta
Yeah.
find a way to learn how to secure it. I hate Ledger. I think it's shit, but you know what? Ledger is still a step in the right direction compared to just leaving it on an exchange.
Go offline, Sparrow,
Yeah, that's where
generate
you
a
gotta go.
seed, and then
Yeah.
like, you know, write the address out in pen, whatever. Like there's ways to do this, you know, just the exchange
Yeah.
is low on the level of security and you know, possession. What is it? 90% of the law is possession or something like that. So
Yeah, and
you want to have it, man. You want to have it. You don't want to be fighting with them over it just because it's got your sign in at the front door.
another Bitcoin ETF may become live in the very near future. I'm kind of perplexed about this. It's not just from anybody. It's courtesy of the President Trump's
That's right.
Truth Social.
That's right.
They filed a prospectus, and it just took a look at it, and it looks like they're going to be using a custodian, of course, just like every other ETF would. Forest Dax Trust, aka Crypto.com. I thought these guys were going to go tits up in 2022, 2023, but they ended up managing. Now they're fucking going to be securing this. And with respect to this ETF, who the fuck cares? I don't know why anybody was making it, but some people were posting big things that gives a shit.
Sir, I agree. I have just about had it with this administration and its antics. So, yeah, not.
Well,
not
we'll
great.
talk about that in the.
I'm
next part
sure.
of the show.
I'm
Let's-
sure we
let's end
will.
this. Yeah. All right. Let's end this Bitcoin side. I hope you all enjoyed it. And yeah, I think we went a little bit long in the first segment, which cut into our Bitcoin talk, but
That's
still.
all right.
The latter half of the show, the second part, I think is going to be fucking dynamite. And if the first part wasn't dynamite, the second part is going to be fucking.
Strap in. If it's not dynamite, it's at least
Yes,
going to
oh
be
my
a skid
God.
of bricks. So strap in, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, don't be a cock.
57:45. That's pretty good. All right, where do you want to start? What story do you want to hit first?
Well, Elon and Trump, I think it was a big thing that took place this past week.
Scrap.
Yeah, they decided that they
Do
are
you
good
know the full
friends,
story
but
here?
better enemies.
Do you know the full story here? The physical altercation.
He had
Between-
a black eye.
Elon had a black eye a few weeks ago, and apparently there was an altercation. And this is what Washington Post is reporting. I don't know if this is true or not. Washington Post is not the most reputable paper, unfortunately, but the timeline matches up. Besant and Elon got into an altercation in the White House, and Besant landed one on him, and Elon put his shoulder into the guy's chest and stormed off. And Elon, you know, he's a bit of a spurg, and he was spurging out a bit the other day, saying that Trump is on the Epstein logs and all this other shit. Like,
Oh, that's
crazy. And by the way, I don't think Trump is on the Epstein logs. The Democrats had those logs in their possession for, 5 years, 4 years, whatever, and didn't do anything with them. So, unless Barack Obama is on that log and they didn't want to trade Trump for Obama, I doubt very much Trump is on it.
the thing is, we were supposed to get this day one.
That's right. Yeah.
We're now day, I don't know,
150 ish. I don't know.
Where is it? Right, day one, right? Whatever. It just, I think
Days without incident. We need the days without incident work safety sign. 0. It's always at 0. The marker's not even with the board anymore. It's in the garbage.
it seems like the last time. Remember when Trump his last tenure. He just kind of lost all his friends. They just all just kind of abandoned him and he was left with just his close family members. And it seems like Elon Musk and Trump were never gonna be a tandem like for that very long. They're both just alpha dogs, right? And they just they just want to be center of attention. They both can't operate in this, so they got to be at bitter ends. And it is what it is.
I don't know.
I like the name of the bill, that they're big beautiful bill. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. These
BBB.
fucking names.
It's not Build Back Better. Big Beautiful Bill instead.
Just get I hate these fucking names. Like, let's just get
Listen, the thing to take from all this is that politics is not serious, and it affects you every day, and you're at the whims of these people. And you need to have Bitcoin to stay away from this.
Yes.
You have no choice. That you have to have something that will insulate you at least a bit from the nonsense. I think there's a real chance, Len, that the price pump you're seeing now is a result of, I think, yet another credit agency lowering the U.S. credit rating today.
Oh yeah,
or
Moody's
this week.
Something.
Yeah, Moody's did it. I think it's the second time they've done it actually. And people are starting to look around and say like, oh my God. Every country is just giving money away for all kinds of stupid shit, and everyone's getting rich except me. And here I am investing in my 401k, trying to get by on my shitty job, and you have to see the writing on the wall. The Bitcoin thing, you might hate it. Okay. You might hate that Trump mentioned it in the White House. You might hate that the worst guy has a bunch of Bitcoin and is living high on the hog. Okay. But unless you have a better idea to save yourself from the coming financial repression,
bet on Vanity Coffee.
Yeah,
right.
Take out some leaps on Vanity Coffee. Yeah. But unless you have a better idea, you have to start putting money into Bitcoin. It is pristine savings technology. It's a pristine asset. And I think for people who are ignoring this, I can't imagine.
Are beautiful.
They've never been better. Like everything is a tailwind. Everything is a tailwind.
When I see the price go down, I get more bullish, and when the price goes up, I get more bullish. It's like I can't fucking get.
I'm bulled up all the time. I'm calling my doctor every day. It's been more than 4 hours, man. I got him on speed dial.
And even those motherfuckers at Core, I'm still fucking bullish. Even those guys and whatever doing their thing. So I can't, And what happened here? I mean, to go back with Trump and Elon Musk. After all that effort put into Doge to try to save money, I guess for next year, I think it's been earmarked for this year, but for next year, and then to turn around and just spend,
crazy.
And the debt ceiling, it's like they're gonna
see what he wants to increase it by.
Whatever the fuck, like,
do you know what the number is? Do you know how much he wants to increase it by?
What is it right now? But before I answer that question,
okay, I gotta find.
Is it 3 trillion?
I gotta find out. Hold on. The number is insane. What is the U.S. debt ceiling? It's going to give me a fucking definition. God, I knew that. How much is the U.S. debt ceiling? How much is the debt ceiling? It is... Oh, fuck, can't figure this out. Here we go. It's 36 trillion. Okay?
Oh.
36 trillion is the debt ceiling. So the number that they want to increase it by... Usually 40? They increase it by like 1 trillion or 2 trillion. You know what they want to increase 40? It by this time? They want to increase it by $5 trillion.
Yeah, they'll go to 40.
Yeah. 41. Yeah, Glenn Rice. Shout out to Glenn Rice. But yeah, like it's a high number, man. And I don't know. Like, do you think, listener, viewer, do you think that they're going to pay back for it?
No.
Do you think that this is going to affect the value of your dollar? Do you think
the money that is going to be spent? It's going to be spent to the friends of the White House.
No enemies.
Friends, no enemies. They're going to be good. The White House friends are going to. It's, this is just, it's par for the course. It's not to say that we have to stomach it. When I say it's par for the course, it's just, what can you do about it? Like, during last election, you had really 2 options to pick from, and if I was in the position of voting, if I was an American citizen, I probably would have voted for the guy that's in power right now.
Same.
But it's trash.
It's the cream of the crap, man. Like Ed the Sock used to say, before he turned into a libtard too. But it's just like, And do you remember when we first started doing the show? Was around the time when they were floating this idea. No, was it when we were doing the show? Or was it before the $1 trillion coin? Do you remember this?
No, it was during the show we talked.
Was
about
it? And so like that idea, Len, I bet you it gains traction again. I honestly bet you it gains traction again.
Do you remember that $1 trillion bill that was printed on the Simpsons? They brought it to Cuba.
Yeah, and if he showed it to Fidel on a boat, and he's like, "Hey, can I have the bill back?" And he's like, "What back? Give what back?"
It was funny when he was talking. The Americans are not so bad. They named the street after me in San Francisco. Whispers.
What was the street called?
It's Castro Street or Castro District, whatever the fuck. And he whispers to him, "Psst, psst, it's full of what?" He was like, just shocked at the fact it was funny. But anyway, L.A., Los Angeles, the
they're
civil
busy
unrest
over there. California.
You know what? They can at least lay claim that they have less fucking home crime than per capita than does Toronto. Property crime is higher in Toronto than it is in fucking LA. But still, you know what? The things that's going on over there. I don't know, man. Do you want to just go on a tangent here and just fucking but I think everybody's aware of what the fuck's going on.
I just want to say that James Woods, the medical guy from Any Given Sunday, who's like a conservative influencer now somehow, put out a tweet of a video of guys like burning shit down in the street, and it looks like it's from the last couple of days. But Newsom himself quote tweeted Woods and said, "This video is from 2020," and now under this video is from 2020 is just tons of videos from this year. There's a picture of Newsom at the French Laundry, and it's like, this picture is also from 2020. He's going to lunch at the French Laundry with all his buddies there, at dinner at the French Laundry when everyone else is locked down. Like, these guys are so disconnected from reality. For Newsom to get on the internet and tweet that, it's so retarded. It's so retarded.
The only thing that could fix this is if she comes from China and they're gonna have some sort of event in LA.
Clean it up
darn fucking sure they'll sweep their shit under the rug temporarily just to clean it up, and then once he leaves,
I think you're right. We got to call him, see what he's up to.
Yeah, we need some foreign dignitary to come in.
Waymo cars are on fire. You got people with Mexican flags throwing rocks at cop cars from on the top of overpasses. Like, listen, okay, we speak rather pointedly about immigration and certain groups of immigrants on this show, and by we, mostly it's me. I will admit that. I am constantly told that these people are like us, or in this case, like Americans. They're your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues. You're at the restaurants with them, you're at the games with them. They're cheering for the Raiders just like you. It doesn't seem to me that these people are like Americans. It seems to me like they are, in fact, willing to riot instead of obeying the laws that the nation has out for them. And, some great tweets today, among them, the Los Angeles FC tweeting out that they stand with migrants. People should be allowed to stay, blah, blah, blah. And the top reply with like 38 or 40,000 likes is a policy from the LAFC website saying you must have a ticket to get into the stadium, regardless of who you are. And I just think it's so perfect. It's a perfect commentary on the sort of worm that's in the brain of all liberals at this point, that every immigrant should get to stay and every immigrant who's illegal should get to remain illegal. Like the time for that is over. Okay. In Canada, it's over. In the States, it's over. In Europe, it's over. Sane, productive people can only take so much, and they're hitting their limit, and they voted for this. And you're going to see more of this in Western world. So, desensitize yourself. Like the kids say, buckle up, man. This is going to continue, and it's going to be harsh. And there's going to be tons of these sob stories about this guy's a taxpayer. He's a local mechanic. He's a church leader. He's an illegal. His family is here illegally. He subverted the system. He cheated. He doesn't pay the right amount of taxes. He's allowing employers to cheat on their taxes. He's like, you may love or hate the tax man, but there are rules to follow in a society that is worth living in. And if you ignore the rules, you will get a society that is not worth living in. Okay? And you're seeing that more and more and more in the West. It's not a mystery, okay? You can draw a very clear, clean, crisp, straight line between when we stopped caring about things like borders and when streets became more dangerous. Don't forget, the media has covered this up as long as they possibly could, even trying to tell the vice presidential candidate at the time, J.D. Vance, that only a few hotels had been taken over by Mexican gangs and it wasn't that big a deal in Colorado. Like, they will not stop trying to lie to you, and you have to start believing your eyes, ears, and the things you see and hear on TV are obviously incorrect. This is not going to last forever. And again, like, if you don't have Bitcoin, you're at the mercy of, governments and nation states that are just like feeding money to these people, benefits, all their kids. You can go on Twitter and see, if you just scroll through videos, like the people who are on government food stamps and assistance just fucking crying in stores with their kids because they didn't get the Coke they wanted. Like, they're not well adjusted. Crying in their cars because the food stamps won't let them buy cola anymore. Why should it? You're not going to pay for your health care. You're not going to pay for your food. You're not going to pay for me to have your kids raised because you're sick or can't make a good decision about what to feed your children. Like, why should you get to buy? Like, this is, you're running into these problems, okay? And Mike and I talked about this last week too, that you're coming into very difficult territory here where there has to be questions asked about who is having children, how many children are they having, what are they doing to make sure that those children don't become wards of the state? And wards of the state doesn't mean they live in an orphanage. Wards of the state means when I send the kid to school to learn something, does he go home and play video games and burn out on a screen for 8 hours and forget it all and have to come up the next day and swim upstream and burn out good teachers and burn out good administrators? Like, that's a ward of the state. And you're going to see this more and more. And the more you let people in who break laws to get here, the more you should expect poor behavior outside of coming to the country. It's plain and simple, easy, okay? In Canada, same thing. You got people who come here, they get scammed, like Len and I said last week. They get scammed into coming here. They pay a bunch of money to employers. They pay back the employer some of their wage to stay here. And then they want support because they say, oh, we're Canadians too. No, you're fucking not. No, you're fucking not. And you're not going to contribute. I don't need people who got conned into coming here to tell me that they're suddenly going to become positive contributors to society. No, you're fucking not. You're not the best and brightest. You're not what the country needs. You're not going to help with GDP. You're not going to help a developing economy. And you're not going to assimilate into the culture. There are some cultures that are superior and some that are inferior. These are not controversial things. There's no magic soil in Canada and the States and Europe. We have to stop pretending this. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Otherwise, you're going to see more and more pallets of bricks showing up every time the government tries to do something to get these people out. And one last thing. If you're still retarded enough to think that there's not at least a little bit of a political slant here, that when you bring people like this in, you will get lifetime left voters. If you think that's not part of the equation, I got a bridge to sell you. This is obviously part of the equation. One party wants you out. The other party wants you in. Who are you going to vote for? It's not that hard, okay? People who talk about causal relationships all the time, the alleged party of science and mathematics and whatnot, seems to ignore all the stuff that's inconvenient but obvious. Things that are understood and easy to explain somehow never need to be touched. Can't be touched. In fact, they're, completely off limits in the media.
Well, Canada's going to fix some of these problems, it looks like.
Fuck. Here we go. Sure. Go ahead.
Oh, the Strong Borders Act.
Hey, we talked about last week, okay? 2 million people came in the last 2 years for 200,000 jobs. What are the other, 2 million people doing? I don't know. Not working, that's for sure. And if they are working, they're working cash jobs, which are not helping a developing economy. That's not an agile, progressing economy like we're being told. Sorry, continue.
Well, the Strong Borders Act, it's Bill C2.
Yeah.
And
second time we've talked about this, isn't it? We talked about this on Axis of Easy last week, where I gave another impassioned appeal to people to fucking pay attention to what's going on around you.
introduced by the Liberals on June 3rd. Now, before we go any further, the Liberals could act like they have a majority government within the House of Commons because nobody's going to want to bring them down.
Yep.
And on the Senate, they have a very strong majority over there. So if they want to push any bill through, they certainly can. It's like Bill C2, I suspect, won't have very much resistance. And the goal of the bill is to strengthen the borders and bringing the immigration system up to speed. And they want to give police more tools for securing Canada's borders, going up against money laundering, like organized crime, stop or slow down fentanyl being moved into or out of Canada and shit like that. The government says that they could also immediately suspend, cancel, or change groups of immigration documents.
If deemed to be in the public good, right?
In public interest, exactly. So people that are on visitor visas, work permits, study permits, and just essentially change it, cancel them, suspend them altogether for, it could be for public health, it could be for national security reasons, it could be for a number of different things. And they say it's also going to be pausing the applications of new ones, or even stopping existing processing applications right now. So Bill C2 is going to hopefully start addressing this. They're also going to make asylum claims a little bit more different. Individuals who come to Canada through United States, they typically, it looks like they've been allowing people to make the claim after 14 days, but now it's not going to be the case. You have to do it right. But even if you're coming from the States, it looks like they're going to send you back and you have to do the claim over there because that
is the right way to do this. You can't just stay here and then fucking get lost in the sauce while you get your claim out. That's ridiculous.
And people that have been here for over a year and make a claim for asylum, it's not going to be referred to the Immigration and Refugee Board. It looks like it probably will be going straight to a judge at that point if they really want to go that far.
It'll be denied.
Right. And then they could take it to a judge if they wanted to, the federal court, and then beyond. Furthermore, the Bill C2 will also make it more, as we're talking about money laundering, it's the transaction of over $10,000 is going to be verboten.
Yep.
And think of like how much $10,000 could get you, say, 30 years ago.
And it's cumulative, right? So
so you could do like a $5,000 purchase, a $3,000, and a $4,000 purchase, and you're over the 10,000 threshold, and
What is the time frame for that? Like, what is the
I don't know. I couldn't
find it. Yeah.
Canada Post looks like they're gonna have the ability, them and police, to go through mail. The guy in the House of Commons is interesting dude that was proposing all this. Police will also potentially be able to install spyware on your phone. And so this is an interesting bill altogether. I mean, it looks like they're trying to deal with some issues, but I mean, I'm happy I have Bitcoin.
The clamps are coming, man. If you think they're not coming, I will give you a preview. You should go listen to Access of Easy from last week. I gave an impassioned plea to people to understand that all these things are pointing to the same end, and it is policing private discussions. They want to make private discussions difficult. One thing Len left off there was that ISPs will also be sharing data with law enforcement about where you browse the web and how you browse the web without a warrant. And so if you think back to 2016, the first time Trump was elected, everybody was speaking privately about how they were going to vote for Trump, but nobody was talking about it publicly. It was, you became persona non grata basically for saying that. Then during the vaccination mandates, everyone basically saying they thought the shots were bullshit and they were only getting them because they wanted to travel. I think that was pretty much the status quo for people under 50. Even then, some people still didn't get them, but publicly you weren't really allowed to say that. Certainly weren't allowed to say it in, your clubs, committees, employment, stuff like that. Was broadly frowned upon. And then when the trucker convoy hit Parliament, there was probably a lot of private whispering of support, public outcry, speaking down about them, speaking ill about them. But there's coming a time now, because of stuff like Bitcoin and because of the simplicity with which you can proliferate a private opinion that's widely held, the dinner table conversation becomes one where 1 million people can tune in the same hour. The public square, Twitter, is something that you can get traction on very easily. The first time you saw something about myocarditis, for example, how long did it take you to see it? From the tweet to you seeing it. If you were looking for that, maybe a day, 2 days max. that stuff spreads like wildfire. And it is, along with Bitcoin, dangerous to a regime. Plain and simple. In Poland, I'll point to Poland again, like I did last week or 2 weeks ago. Their politicians answering questions from the modern media, almost unbelievable. It's like, an SNL skit of sorts. How do you manage to stay in power for so long? How do you manage to keep your citizens, satisfied? And the guy gives an answer like, when they tell us they want something, we just do it. They want lower immigration, we do it. They want lower taxes, they just went through an election too. Yeah, that's right. And the fucking conservative guy won again, regardless of what the global homogenous cultural groups want to see happen in those countries. They can't make a dent because it's hard to rig an election when 90% of the people are voting one way. You can pretend it's 60%, but you go to the country and you see how people act and what they think and what they say. You're there now, I think, where private conversations are becoming an issue. More and more people across political lines, for example, are frustrated with stuff like the inflation numbers. Everyone knows inflation is not 3%; it's 10. That's a minimum. It's 10 minimum. Everyone knows that there is no such thing as an operating budget and an investment budget. You have to balance both. Certainly, the people who are loaning us money or buying our bonds are going to want us to balance both. There's no such thing as diversity being your strength. Everyone knows this, okay? Cuomo today, I just saw this on Twitter, saying that, 180 languages are spoken in New York schools. That's a positive thing. No, it's fucking not. It's the worst possible outcome to have 180 languages spoken in schools because teachers can't speak 180 languages. The kids can't talk to each other. The educators can't educate. They're fighting with the kids to trying to make them understand stuff. You need more people in the classroom. You're delaying education. No one believes these things anymore. And the more people talk about them, the more you hit a critical threshold of people who are willing to do something about it. Now, I'm not saying it has to be a violent uprising, but it certainly could be, for example, moving out of neighborhoods, or it could be not hiring certain people, or it could be, ostracizing socially certain people. These things are damaging to a society. But if you push a population in that direction over enough time, like I always say on Twitter, sane people eventually will reach their limits. And you're going to see this more and more. And so the only fix for this is either to have dirt on everyone so that when you need it, you can do something with it, or to monitor through ISP data, private conversations, and internet browsing. And, we've talked about the digital ID on this show before. We talked about that on Access of Easy as well. There's always a reason. We have to protect kids from porn. There's too many drugs coming over. There's child exploitation. There's sex trafficking, whatever. It's all nonsense. The reason that they want digital ID is so that they can get a number on you, okay? They want to build a profile, an avatar of you. The reason that Palantir in the States is looking at building databases based on people browsing the internet is not because they want to target sunglasses ads to you on Instagram, listener and viewer, okay? It's a lot more serious than that. And you can pretend it's not. You can, hand wave and say that I'm dreaming or I'm crazy, but the fact of the matter is, being on this show for as long as we've been on this show, Len, you may agree, you may disagree, but nothing really keeps an audience around like being right. And I think we've been right a lot on this show. Even when it was unpopular at the time, I think we've been right a lot. Whether it's Bitcoin related, cultural stuff, politics stuff, we hit the nail on the head quite a bit. And I think we're hitting the nail on the head here too. There's going to be a time when you're going to wish you had taken this more seriously, and when you are going to wish you had Bitcoin to insulate yourself from it, to be agile, to move, reward governments that are not doing this with your citizenship, with your family, with your, you don't have to do this. You don't have to live like this. And I think a lot of Bitcoiners are going to come to that realization in the next, 3 to 5 years. I'll just also point out, Len, that I think this accelerates my timeline for CBDCs. I know you're a little outside of my timeline, but I think you're less than 3 years away, is my guess. Here in Canada.
It's not that soon. Not for retail. No fucking way.
All right.
Anyways, attention, people that are in Manitoba that are owning small businesses and are Black, because the Manitoba government and the Manitoba Chamber of Commerce are accepting grant applications for the Manitoba Black Entrepreneurs and Small Business Program. The program aims to help Manitoba Black-owned and Black-led small businesses overcome obstacles, address barriers, facilitate growth, and create jobs. And so if you self-identify as part of the Black community, you're
Self-identify?
Yep.
Hell yeah. All right.
and you're eligible for a one-time grant annually between $5,000 and $20,000.
Wow.
And the grants will be awarded depending on specific needs and merits of the application. They're going to be focusing on 3 things: training on capital acquisition, assistance with building connections to experienced professionals, and building capacity through skills development. Application deadline, July 4th. If you want to check it out, visit Manitoba Chamber of Commerce website. It's more of
that. You just read that from it's like a
Yes.
PSA.
Oh, definitely, because it helps lead into the next one, where Toronto is facing a class action lawsuit for denying refugee shelter beds. And the lawsuit was filed by the Black Legal Action Center, Lewis Litigation PC, and a few others. I can't even name them. Anyways, it's a 40-year-old Nigerian refugee claimant is leading this and is one of the class action members. This is a $50 million class action lawsuit, and it was over the decision to deny shelter beds to hundreds of refugee claimants over a period of 1 year, from November 7th, 2022 to October 1st, 2023. And they say that the lawsuit says they allege violations of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, specifically Section 7 for the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and Section 15, equality rights, by denying refugees claimant access to shelter beds. And they say the city
Shelter beds are not meant for refugees. Like,
this is
what I don't understand. Okay, like,
we're not done yet. They say that it's systemically negligent and systemic discrimination, particularly against members of the Black community. Many of the affected refugee claimants were predominantly Black countries from those.
It has nothing to do, like, in both cases. Okay, I sympathize with people who have trouble getting a business off the ground. I sympathize with people who can't get a shelter bed. Like I think about this from the through the wayside lens all the time. There's just not beds for everyone, okay? And so you have to, at some point, triage who gets a bed. And should the guy who's, here as an asylum claimant get a bed that would otherwise be for a guy who's recovering from, fentanyl addiction who wants to get better? Like, I don't think so. It has nothing to do with the guy's skin color. I don't care what color the guy is. Black, brown, yellow, red, who cares? What I care about is we're doing things based on merit. What I care about, if I'm giving a grant to a business, there's tons of grant programs, by the way, in Ontario, federally. Like, you can get a grant for a lot of stuff. If you're a business owner, you don't have to be a Black business owner. You could be a Chinese business owner, Asian, Indian, whatever. But the idea that we have to, like, draw these lines on skin color for everything from shelter beds to business loans. I don't know, man. It seems to me like Rome is burning, and I don't think a lot of people realize it. Rome is always the last to realize, right? That's the way the story goes. Everyone knew that Rome was falling except Rome itself. So I think we're in that now. We're approaching fourth turning territory here. If we're not already kind of swimming in those waters, we definitely are going to be soon.
I think the last story we could talk about is Pride Toronto, that was recently hit by corporate owners disappearing. They're either slowing down or
you just start giving me the thinnest fucking ice to skate on tonight, and I don't know what I'm going to do about this here.
So companies like Merrick Canada, the Abnormal Beauty Company, and Tim Hortons, they have recently reduced their contribution to Pride. But companies like Google, Home Depot, and Nissan, even Adidas, they picked up their balls and they've gone home deciding not to give anything to anybody. And that left Pride with a 700,000 gaping black hole that needed to be filled. And what the fuck are you talking about? Anyways.
Pack it in, man. We're fucking done.
So Toronto decided to pick up the tab here. They're shipping in with $300K. And by comparison,
taxpayers paying it. I love that. Olivia, she's going hard, man. She's going hard.
The Santa Claus parade got $100,000 from the city of Toronto. If you want to do a comparison,
that's a good comp. Really good comp.
And they're saying that more funding will be allocated in the futures. Mayor Olivia Chow
from Toronto. She's saying, yes, from the city.
Yes, they're going to be increasing their Pride funding for Pride Toronto by 62% by 2027. It's pending council approval. And she said that people should, because Home Depot was one of the ones that decided to cut bait, she said people should, in jest, she said people should go and shop at Lowe's instead. But Home Depot, remember, they employ some 30,000 employees in the city of Toronto. The thing I just wonder is when a corporation makes a donation, they're not forced to continue to make those donations to the end of fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
Things could change. The political landscape could change. The economy could change. And companies, they have right now, look, the economy is not doing very good. Everybody is tightening their belts, including corporations. Would you rather
not the participants in the parades? I'll tell you that.
They're loosening it, actually, if anything. But
lots of belts.
So would you rather like these folks continue to pay?
I'll tell you. Okay, I will tell you what I think about
employ
this.
people.
Yeah,
like, that's. I mean,
it's
let's
wrong.
Be honest.
It's a terrible thing she said, and I think you're right. She may have said it in the heat of the moment, but still, it's not. She's not saying the right things almost anytime she's in front of a microphone. I'm gonna give you the pride angle here, okay? And there's two ways to approach this. One is the red meat for Bitcoiners way that these parades have become too much culturally, where there's a lot of adults, men and women, scantily clad. I think is a generous interpretation of what I've seen online. You can tell me that these videos are fake or that they're not all from the same year, but in my opinion, even one adult male exposing his genitals in a place where there are children should be illegal. It's illegal everywhere else. It should be illegal during the Pride Parade. I think a lot of companies are coming to this realization the hard way. And to me, it's, I think, a fairly obvious move by a competent, publicly traded, especially company, to not be funding things like that. The last thing you want in the age of social media is to have your logo next to a 45-year-old man with a 35 BMI with his dick swinging out while a kid holds up a rainbow flag in the same photo. You don't want that. And I think these companies are making a good decision there. That's the red meat interpretation. The sort of, I think, more intuitive interpretation, though, is that Pride itself is already pretty mainstream. So there is no real benefit to these companies sponsoring something like this anymore. It no longer gets many political points. And most people just accept that there are, alternative lifestyles out there, and they don't need to see it on a bus once a year for a month or whatever. Is it Pride Week or Pride Month? I forget what it is, but they just don't need to see it. And companies are saying, okay, well, this is, it's passé. It's no longer trendy. It's accepted. So why are we still funding this as though we're helping break down some kind of barrier for this community? I think that's probably also part of the decision-making rationale. I will just say that if you think that the first part of that explanation is irregular or makes me some kind of, I don't know, is bigot the right word for that? If I don't want adult men or women exposing their genitals to children, I think that says a lot more about you than it says about me, and raises a lot more questions about you than it does about me. And I think that you need to get out of your little bubble. This is not normal behavior. You would never accept this at a park or a church or a school. And so you shouldn't accept it in your streets either. Certainly not paid for by your tax dollars, though it seems Toronto residents are going to find that out the hard way.
Yeah,
so.
well, and also, the story previous, we were talking about the homeless shelters, and they were turning away people. And because homeless shelters, they're at capacity, food banks.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So they're going to increase funding for Pride by, what'd you say, 60%? Something like that?
62% by 2020.
That's a kick. It's a slap in the face to these people. It is.
Like, there's people out there that really fucking need it. It's not for joy. This is just for basic necessities.
Do you think there's going to be a Palestine protest for the Pride Parade?
Oh my God.
Like, can you imagine the knots that Olivia Chow would have to twist herself into to talk about that?
But this is a professional thing. There was 300,000 people showed up this past week in Rome to protest the Palestine war.
Wow.
And then it's a roaming circus. They go from country to country and do this.
Some guy on Twitter got in my replies and was like, you need to look in the mirror, just find out what kind of man you are if you talk about not caring about Palestine versus Israel. I don't care. Like,
you know what?
Like, I don't
know
care,
enough about this.
No, you know what? I do know enough about it. Here's what I know.
I don't.
Here's what I know. It's two Bronze Age ideologies fighting over promises made to them in cave scratchings 5,000 years ago. I don't give a fuck. We shouldn't be giving any money to this. Stop pouring fuel on the fire. This clip going around of the New York mayor's debate, where every single candidate says their first visit would be to Israel, and the only guy who doesn't says he would stay in New York because he wants to help New Yorkers, and if there's Jewish New Yorkers, he'll meet them on the subway platform, meet them at the station, meet them wherever. Like, he gets killed. He's like,
is there one entity that's at fault and the other one not, or are they both at fault?
Does it even matter?
Not at fault.
Does it even matter?
Well,
I don't care.
In my eyes, it kind of does.
There's always like, I'll use the word.
There's a gray area,
right? I know.
But I just don't know if truly you could say these guys are right or these guys are wrong, or they're both right or both wrong. I don't know enough about this. That's why I can't comment. I'm just wondering, these protests, it seems like they're funded in some way.
Well,
and it's like
pallets of bricks, right? We just said that earlier. It's like everywhere you look, there's another fucking pallet of bricks. Okay, I want to share this. I'm going to put it on the screen here. Hold on. This is the thing I'm talking about. Like this is inexcusable, I think. And like, I don't know what to make of this. It's almost, again, like it's like an SNL skit here, watching this shit. Like I watched this the other night and I started just fucking laughing. I don't know what else to do. I see stuff like this and I don't get it. Like maybe I'm out to lunch, but I think maybe I'm not, honestly. So let's just give this a watch here.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo.
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, two of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
as a Jewish state?
Notice.
As a state with equal rights.
He won't
Not as a
say it
Jewish
has a
state.
right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very
And
clear
his
on
answer was no, he won't visit Israel.
I said that.
That's what he was trying to say.
No. Unlike
No,
you, I
you
answer.
never-
Unlike
you
you, I
never
answer
said
questions
no.
very
Okay.
directly.
All right.
My goal would be to take my first trip to Israel. My wife's life work in this area means a lot to our family, and it could coincide with my young son Miles' bar mitzvah, if you'd like to have his bar mitzvah.
Okay, but
What am I supposed to make of that video? Like, that's the New York mayor debates. Like, what the fuck is going on in that video? Can someone explain that to me?
I have nothing to say.
That is fucking mind-numbing, man. Like, these guys, New York is one of the most dangerous places in America.
So they're depending on the source, it's either 960,000 people that are Jewish in New York or 1.3 million people.
I mean, is that a lot? How many people are in New York? 10 million? 5 million? I don't know.
Well, that's just it's a
20 million?
a voting block, right? I mean, that's enough to move a needle.
I just like, it's hard. It's harder and harder to ignore stuff like that. And it's not, if it's not Israel, it's Ukraine. If it's not Ukraine,
Versus
it's some other
Palestinians,
cause.
According to this, either 7,000 Palestinians live there or 4,300. So it's like comparatively,
Yeah,
right? So for a voting
guess.
block, right? Like it just.
But isn't it like Jews against Muslims? Isn't that the real, debate there? I think it might be. I don't know.
I don't know.
Listen, the point I'm making is not one it's not about Israel or Palestine or Ukraine, like that one guy says. Like, it's a meme, I'm gonna go to Israel, then to Ukraine, our greatest allies. Like, holy fuck. Pretty sure I haven't, seen that flag on someone's veranda around here. But anyway, the point is that it's never you. Like, it's never like the local problem. Like, why is that? Why does the only guy who says he wants to stay in New York and, visit with Jewish New Yorkers at the subway or in synagogues,
Joey,
he gets beat up for it?
We elected somebody here, and almost immediately within a month,
Yeah, Europe.
2 trips
Yeah.
to Italy, One, just I think it was a lean mean, but the second one, family was included. A bunch of liberal MPs. Like, why? Why do you need to go? I know when I was talking, somebody was telling me like the plane is going. You might as well bring more people there. But every person that goes there needs to be fed 3 meals.
Yeah.
It needs to have roof over their head, and they're not going to
Lodgings,
stay at the Motel 6. So everybody there's an expense that comes along with it, and you come back and you see people like somebody posted a picture today on X in Niagara region. This is an older guy. I'm gonna guess he must have been.
I'm
in the
looking
60s.
for work. Open to work. Yeah, I saw that.
And he was dressed
shameful.
like
Shameful.
business attire, like he was wearing a shirt and tie.
Yep.
And so that's what we have here. And you're going there, and in a time where we were pushing people to work from home, and I know it's not that they're not doing that now, but somebody can make a stand and say, you know what, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna fucking do that. I could do this shit remotely.
Yeah.
Shaking hands in person does mean something, but also the fact I'm gonna make a stand and I'm gonna do this virtually.
That's right.
And I'm gonna save that cash, not spend it, and try to divert it somewhere else.
Yeah.
That would make more of an impact, I think, than going and just enjoying whatever's being offered over there. Like, I don't know what to say. It's beaten me down to a pulp.
It's this idea that, you hear this all the time. It's obviously from some classics text, but the idea of like the ruling class knowing that the music's going to stop soon, and so they're at the trough just getting as fat as they can. Like, that's how it looks to me now, more and more. And it's hard, like I said, it's hard to ignore this. It's hard. It's everywhere. Everyone is getting something out of this at the very top, except you. And I think if you're a Bitcoiner, you've noticed this for a long time. But maybe you're new watching the show or listening to the show, and you may find that you're starting to see it more and more. You're noticing these things, and you don't like it. And so I encourage you to look into Bitcoin, study Bitcoin, find some Zen in Bitcoin.
Oh,
so you don't wind up beat down and angry like me and Len.
No, I'm. You know what?
So you don't end up violent.
No,
like me.
See, the one thing though, the hope is there, and the hope exists, and there's an end game, at least for me, and I'm gonna make sure that I see it through.
Yeah,
and it's not like gonna be like anything magnificent. One day you're just gonna not see me. That's essentially it.
That's the way it goes, man. Yeah,
and that's I'm gonna just be incognito somewhere and enjoying life. It's just that's really the drive, and it's just because it just. Like I say, shit just beats you to a fucking pulp, and you can only take so much of it. It's just, and what could you do? It's like you can't vote any harder. Things change. Like not Jack Meat. What the fuck? Sorry.
Who?
Polyev. Like just videos of him back in the day. He wanted to make things quicker for people to get, like, students and foreign workers to get status here. Like,
you got it.
Everybody. The way political winds blow, that's the way people tend to blow. And I get it. I understand. But whatever. We all make our decisions for what we're doing.
That's right. That's right. Let's get out of here. My mother-in-law's upstairs watching my daughter, so I'm going to go let her go home. Maybe we'll see you Wednesday. Maybe we won't. I don't know. We'll see
what happens.
You're either going to see one of us, both of us, or just me doing heavy bench and talking about personal training scams, one or the other. We'll see. Anyway. God bless. We'll see you guys. See you next time.
Don't be a fucking cock.